Addams Family 2 is the latest animated movie from Universal. It stars Charlize Theron, Oscar Isaac, Chloe Grace Moretz, Nick Kroll, Snoop Dogg, and many, many more. Before we get into this, don't forget to hit that like button down below. It does wonders to get my content out there, and if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and the bell icon to keep up to date with all my content. Hoping to get closer as a family, Gomez, Morticia, and the rest of the Addams clan embark on an adventurous road trip in a hideous and humongous caper. Alright, so let me say at the top of this, I am a lifelong Addams Family fan. I grew up with, of course, the movies that were made back in the 1990s, which I absolutely adored. The original TV series was always on repeats. They were always playing the original series from the 1960s. The animated show was in syndication still as well. So you could not grow up, I guess, in the 1990s without knowing of the Addams Family. They were still quite big back then. I feel like, though, the Addams Family has kind of remained quite dormant between, I guess, those movies in the 1990s and the most recent animated film, the first Addams Family film, which came out back in 2018. This is a franchise that I don't really want to use the word irrelevant, but it's a franchise that has just become sort of, I feel like it's not in the pop culture landscape or in the, you know, the pop culture view as much as it was like 20 or 30 years ago. So when they rebooted the Addams Family a couple of years ago, I was very excited to see what they were going to do with it, with this animated movie. Unfortunately, I wasn't a huge fan of that first one. It just didn't really work for me. So going into the second one, I had a little bit of trepidation. I mean, I was excited to jump back into a new Addams Family adventure to see what they were going to do the second time around. And again, as a fan of the Addams Family, a lifelong fan of the Addams Family, I just wanted, another adventure with the clan. Unfortunately, the issues I had with the first movie really are the same issues that I had with the second one here. This is a movie that I really didn't like very much at all. This is a movie that just simply didn't work for me. This is a movie that feels very kind of maybe generic. Again, I don't like to be too mean-spirited about movies, but this was a very kind of generic animated film. The movie takes the Addams Family out of the house and essentially takes them on this crazy, wacky road trip. Now, I understand I had the pleasure of speaking with the director, Conrad Vernon, about the movie, and his main goal, or the main goal of the creative team, was to get the Addams Family out of the house, to get them on a journey that was kind of outside of their comfort zone. In some respect, I get that. I understand that. I feel like it's important, particularly when you're dealing with characters like this who have been in so many things. You want to try something maybe that's a little bit new and a little bit different. But then sometimes I think that there might be like a line where you cross it and it becomes too different, and it turned into a completely different thing. Taking the Addams Family away from the Addams mansion, which in and of itself is a character, taking the Addams away from the mansion, I felt like was maybe a little bit of a misstep. I do understand how keeping the characters hampered inside the house or inside their neighborhood hampers the creativity, but again, it moves this franchise, it moves the story too far away from what we all know and love about it. As a result of taking them out of the family and putting them on this crazy road trip, it almost just felt like just like a really kind of generic animated film where a wacky family goes on a road trip. It didn't really feel Addams Family to me at all. But again, maybe it's not a bad thing. This is a movie that's definitely aimed at a very, very young audience. Again, I had the chance to speak with Javon Walton, who voices Pugsley in this one, and I asked him whether he was really familiar with the Addams Family beforehand, and he said he'd never seen any of the older stuff. So this is a franchise that's not really relevant with the younger audiences these days. So I feel like maybe for the younger audience it might work because they don't have that understanding of the original or the exposure to the original stuff. Where these characters came from. They don't know so much about their earlier adventures and all that kind of stuff. I don't know, maybe it's going to work for younger audiences. There wasn't a whole lot in it that I really did enjoy. I felt like a lot of it fell flat. Most of the comedy fell flat. There's a couple of moments where I actually had quite a few belly laughs, really funny moments. But a lot of it did fall flat. I felt narratively it was really jumbled. It didn't know what it wanted to be half the time or what characters it wanted to focus on. Some of the stuff it does with the characters is just really kind of weird, left of center kind of stuff. And I just feel like it just felt, for me, someone who, again, grew up with the Addams Family and is such a big fan of the Addams Family, it just felt like it was a bit too far removed. Like, I don't want to drag down the work that so many artists have put into this piece, but the animation feels very cheap. Now, this movie was made in about a year and a bit. You look at some of the bigger budgeted animated movies, like stuff that's coming out of Disney, stuff that's coming out of Pixar, and these movies are in production for 3, 4, 5 years. And a lot of that time is dedicated to the animating of the piece. And I feel like maybe with a smaller production period, and I'm assuming a much smaller budget as well, it really does hamper that creativity. This is not a slight on the animators at all, because the work is there, the work is great, but it does feel very cheap. The animation does feel like something maybe would have had back in the early 2000s, or maybe even very video game. It kind of feels like one of those kids video games, the cutscenes or whatever. It just feels very cheap. And like, if you know the animation from the first movie, it's very much in that same mold. It doesn't feel like maybe they got a bit more budget to make it look a little bit nicer. It just feels very cheap to me. So visually, it's not incredibly appealing. Narratively, it's really jumbled. And again, it just did not feel like Addams Family to me at all. Now, I'm releasing this review in January when Australia gets it, which is a number of months after America has gotten it. So at this point, I'm actually recording this review in September of 2021. So I don't know how this movie has been received by the public when I'm recording this. You guys out there watching this probably do know by now. But my prediction is that I'm not too sure how well this is going to be received, which is unfortunate. Look, the most redeeming quality about this movie is that it's entirely innocent, and it has all the best intentions at heart. I just think maybe they didn't know what they were doing with it, where they were taking the story, what they needed to do with the characters. I think maybe they just struggled with trying to make the characters relevant in this day and age and trying to figure out how to make them popular. I'm not sure if we're going to get a third one. I don't know, I could be wrong. The first one did very, very well at the box office. That's why we got a second one. Maybe this one's going to do well as well. I hope it does, and I hope they do get to come back for another round, because I like to see the positive in things. I like to see people succeeding. And at that, unfortunately, I will be giving The Addams Family 2 a 2 out of 5. The Addams Family 2 is a movie that does have the audience's best interests at heart, but unfortunately it falls apart by taking the characters too far away from their roots, not only neglecting older audiences, but struggle to connect with new ones. And once again, ahead of the movie's release, I did get the opportunity to chat with a number of the talent from the movie, including Nick Kroll, who voices Uncle Fester, Jarvon Warner Walton, who voices Pugsley, and director Conrad Vernon, who also voices Lurch. If you want to check out my interviews with this incredibly talented team, you can catch them via the link at the top of your screen or at the end of the video. Once again, I do want to say an enormous thanks to the team over at Universal Studios for allowing me to see this movie very, very early for the purpose of this review, and for organising those incredible interviews with the wonderful talent from this movie. And thanks everybody out there for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Take it easy. Hey everyone, if you haven't yet, smash that big old subscribe button up on your screen to keep up to date with all my content, and hit that like button down below. Also, don't forget to check me out on social media, and please consider supporting me over on Patreon for as little as $1 a month for exclusive videos, early access content, and to get your name up on the screen. Thanks again for watching.